tired of this.
Thank you for the insights and what is clearly the best backdrop we're going to get all day here on Bloomberg TV. It's great to have you as part of our conversation. I'm Joe Matthew alongside Kaylee Lorenz with a lot of questions, but many of them answered during the time of this broadcast, Kaylee, and maybe later on today. We're waiting on Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. The Obamas, I guess, may be a little bit different. They're not actually office holders here in Washington, but these are the endorsements that will close the deal.
Yeah, now that Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi has come out with a full-throated endorsement for Kamala Harris. The question is, did we just have an open convention, if you will, but it only lasted for the last 24 hours? It's been almost exactly that amount of time since Joe Biden exited this race.
Isn't that true? We'll bring in two more voices covering this story, the best of Bloomberg, Julie Fine, our Texas bureau chief, and Gregory Cordy helping to cover politics here in Washington. Great to have both of you with us. Gregory, what are you hearing? Or do we get the likes of Schumer and Jeffries before this day is out? Could this all be done today?
You really get the sense that this is going right, the endorsements are coming in by the minute and the hour. We're also hearing state delegations weighing in. Last I looked when I walked into the studio here, 750 of the 1,976 pledged delegates that Kamala Harris needs had already pledged to her. So by the end of the day, maybe tomorrow, we can start calling her presumptive nominee. You really get the sense that the party's rallying around her. There was a little bit of a moment where the party had to make a decision. Do we rally around Kamala Harris, or do we have an open process at the convention to let other voices? I think that time's passed. If any other candidate, credible candidate, was going to emerge, they needed to emerge in the first 12 hours. That's passed. We're now coming up on the 24-hour mark since President Biden said he would no longer run again. This is very quickly rallying around Kamala Harris as the party's nominee.
Well, of course, it's not just about endorsements. It's also about donations. Julie, we knew that ActBlue raised some $50 million from Democratic donors, or those are the figures that ActBlue reported in the 7 hours after Kamala Harris announced that she did intend to compete for the Democratic nomination. Now, Politico reporting this hour that a super PAC linked to Biden, Future Forward, received 150 million new commitments from Democratic donors after he announced he would step aside from the race. What is the money telling us here?
Well, the money is telling you you're going to get more money. Once you see donors hopping on, then ones that were hesitant or ones who are waiting, donors saying, is it going to be Bashir? Is it going to be this person? Is it going to be that person? It's likely going to be Kamala Harris. So now you've got donors that are all moving in the same direction, which is really helpful for the Democratic Party. So I think the fact that the vice president really solidified her support so quickly. You just heard Gregory talking about delegates. Texas has more than 270 delegates, 273. This is a state. They're meeting tonight, and they're going to decide their path forward. So by the time they meet, they're going to see all this money going in her direction and all these delegates going in her direction. So this is very good news for a Democratic Party that was seeing some of their donors dry up.
Julie, how much of a concern should it be for Democrats to appear that like this is a coronation? Donald Trump is already calling them out for stealing, quote unquote, I'll give you air quotes on camera here, the election from Joe Biden. The lack of a contest for people who haven't been paying a lot of attention means what?
Well, I think it's going to be frustrating for some people. I spoke to an independent yesterday who said, can't we just have a minute here to try to see what happens? But at the end of the day, I think, like many others, they're going to fall in line or they're going to stay home. Most likely a lot of voters that lean Democrat, if they're frustrated with the process, likely will fall in line and when they look at their options of what to do.
Well, on the subject of options, Gregory, we're thinking it could be a matter of hours or days before Kamala Harris becomes the presumptive presidential nominee. When are we going to find out about the vice presidential nominee?
That's obviously one of the first big decisions that she has to make. And it's really, for all the talk about what a running mate brings to the ticket, what it brings to the ticket is really an insight ticket by moving to the center, somebody who can nail down the progressive wing of the party, maybe geographical balance, gender or racial balance, whatever those criteria are that she's considering in this mix. That'll be kind of give an insight of how she's going to govern. She has until the convention to make that decision. We saw Donald Trump wait until literally the moment of the roll call to say who he was going to ask his delegates to nominate as vice president. But he might have less time than that. We're still waiting on the party to decide whether or not they're going to nominate Kamala Harris at the convention, or whether they're going to do some kind of virtual roll call vote to meet some of these ballot deadlines that are still a little iffy. So this is something that she's got to turn her attention to pretty quickly. If she's going to do all the vetting that you want to do as a vice presidential nominee.
All right, Bloomberg's Gregory Forty and Julie Fine, thank you so much for joining us as we mark now 24 hours since the moment the world seemed to change. Joe Biden not seeking re-election, and of course the endorsements for Kamala Harris have continued to pour in. Just this hour we heard from Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi with her endorsement, and apparently we're about to hear from the House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. CNN reporting that he and Chuck Schumer could endorse as soon as today, and Hakeem Jeffries is set to hold a presser in just 2 p.m. Eastern. Show.
Yes, indeed, we'll have yours on it for you here in Washington.
Well, indeed, and we'll continue our coverage of the political and economic outlook later on this evening. Joe and I will be back for the 5 p.m. edition of Balance of Power right here on Bloomberg TV and radio, so make sure to join us then.
Temperature 55 to 65. For Tuesday and Wednesday, both days, partly to mostly sunny skies, high temperature near 100 inland, holding in the 80s around the Bay Area itself. This is Gary Best with your 3-day weather forecast here on Bloomberg 960.
Get the latest business news uninterrupted on your Bay Area commute. Listen to Bloomberg Radio on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Download the Bloomberg Business app on your smartphone now. Then listen no matter where you are, up and down the West Coast. Get live radio, podcasts, and hourly news updates. Plus, expanded details on your favorite shows. All on demand, anywhere in the Bay Area. The Bloomberg Business app, now on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Download it free in the Apple App Store or on Google Play.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. So you ask, how do hands-free Skechers Slip-ins work? Well, it's like they have this invisible built-in shoe horn so your foot slides into place. Then our heel pillow keeps your foot comfy and secure. And slip-ins are for the whole family, men, women, and kids, in all your favorite Skechers styles. From sneakers to casual shoes and even sandals. Yes, even sandals. So raise your hands in the air and put your shoes on like you just don't care. Because you just went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
I'm Jason Kelly. Join me for Season 2 of Power Players, where we take you behind the scenes to see how the business of sports has gone global.
How one wants to grow because we have talent.
What we have achieved in the NWSL over 2 years is the equivalent of what it took other leagues 25 to 30 years.
You gotta have a business that's sustainable. The only way sustainable is gotta make money.
Check out Season 2 of Power Players, Monday night at 6:30 Eastern on Bloomberg Television, and streaming on Bloomberg Original and YouTube.
Volatile market, global elections, central bank policy. You've got questions about the business stories that affect our world. Let Bloomberg give you the answers. I'm Stephen Cowell. Join me for Here's Why, a new podcast that drills into one big story each week. We'll explain it in just a few minutes with help from one of our 2,700 journalists and analysts across the globe. Listen to Here's Why on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app or wherever you get your
KNEW Oakland. KOSF 103.7 FM HD2 San Francisco. Bloomberg 960. Programming paid for by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Business Week. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine. Plus, global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Manser and Tim Stenbeck on Bloomberg Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody. Live on radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. This is Bloomberg Business Week for this Monday, July 22nd, and we have got a rally underway in technology and mega caps as investors get ready for kind of a big week when it comes to earnings in that group. So we've got Tesla and Alphabet both reporting.
Yeah, we're also going to continue to digest the news of President Biden bowing out of the November race. That is certainly top of mind. We'll have coverage on that throughout the hour. And so coming up, Carol, we're going to start with what policies under a President Harris would look like versus under a President Trump.
I do feel like today is a moment to kind of take a breath, take a pause, and just kind of figure out where we go politically. Because there's still a few months to go until we actually place our ballots and place our votes, if you will. Having said that, we're also going to, though, talk a little bit about the Trump trade. We talked about that over the past week or so. The House trade, the election trade overall, what that November outcome really, really means for the financial markets and for investing.
Plus, you got to follow the money and just see where the money has gone, especially over the last 24 hours. The cash race is certainly on. When it comes to the campaign, we're going to get a tally a bit later in the program.
All right, lots to come certainly over the next 60 minutes and then some. First up, let's get to debate when it comes to the trade on this Monday.
Thank you very much. We have got stocks advancing back to work Monday. Significant change in tone from last week. A couple of big round numbers here with NASDAQ back above 18,000 as of now. The Dow at 40,402. As of now, advancing by 0.3% on the Dow. S&P up 58, 55, 62. A gain right now of 1%. NASDAQ 100 index up 1.5%. The Russell 2000 is up now by 1%. 10-year, 4.25%, with the 2-year right now, 4.52%. Gold down 0.3%, 23.93 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude trading back below $80 a barrel today, down by just about 0.3%, lower by 24 cents a barrel, 79.89 on WTI. Bottom line here, stocks are rebounding after their worst week since April as investors look beyond Joe Biden ending his re-election campaign to focus on the start of the tech earnings season. Case in point, Alphabet and Tesla both report tomorrow. In the meantime, keeping an eye on Mattel shares, the toy maker surging after Reuters reported that private equity firm L. Catterton has approached the toy maker with an acquisition offer, citing sources. Right now, we've got Mattel surging by 16.2%, Hasbro up by 1.8%. So again, recapping, stocks higher. S&P right now up 1.1%. I'm Charlie Pellison, that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Well, we do not want to get ahead of ourselves, to be fair. It is smart to be researching what a Kamala White House might be like and to be thinking about the policies that could impact every aspect of our world based on the outcome of that U.S. presidential race. On that race, the vice president now likely, it seems like there's a lot of...
I think it's fair to say likely. I think it's fair to say. She's becoming more and more likely whoever endorses her next, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Kamala Harris, expected to be the Democratic presidential candidate. We're not quite there, but it does look like it's pointing in that direction. Earlier today at a White House event saying mum about it all, except when it comes to President Biden.
And I am first-hand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
That's Vice President Kamala Harris earlier today.